I think that this term is probably going to be a repeat of 2016, in that Trump will be constantly undermined at every turn. Now, luckily, he's got his loyalists in his cabinet, right? People who will actually do what he wants, versus what he had last time, because he made mistakes, but he's learned from those mistakes. But what I mean by him being undermined at every turn is all the legal warfare that's going to be leveraged against him. Already, we're seeing him being challenged in courts, which we knew it would be, over his birthright citizenship executive order, right? So, for those who don't know, Trump signed an executive order ending birthright citizenship. And the idea of birthright citizenship is that if you're born on this land, if you're born on the U.S. soil, you are a U.S. citizen. Doesn't matter where your parents came from, doesn't matter if they're illegal. You are a citizen. Now, there's only 30 countries in this world that have outright birthright citizenship, where you're born here, doesn't matter who your parents are, doesn't matter anything like that, you're a citizen, right? Every other country either has limitations on birthright citizenship to those who are in the country legally, or goes by jus sanguinis, which is to say that the right of blood, where at least one parent has to be a citizen of the country for the child to be a citizen, right? So, my thought process, it really begs the question to me that why is it that America has to sacrifice when other countries won't? There's only 30 countries that say anyone born on this land is a citizen of our country. Every other country says either you're a legal immigrant here, and then your children are citizens of our country, or better yet, the right of blood. If one of the parents is a legal citizen, then your child is a citizen. And that's that, right? I find it interesting that so many states, almost half the country, want it so badly for illegal immigrants to be able to have anchor babies, because that's all this is for. That's all they want, because I don't think anyone actually cares about legal immigrants having children and those children being considered citizens. Because if you've got a green card, yeah, your child can be a citizen. If you've got a tourist visa that's not expired, yeah, your child can be a citizen. Whatever, right? If you've gone through the process and you've said, I want to come to America for a particular reason, and I've got the legal right to be here, and I happen to have a child, congratulations, your child's an American. The problem becomes, the problem begins when immigrants come to this country, right? Illegal immigrants, and have an anchor baby. Because then it really, really mucks up everything, because everyone starts saying, well, what do we do with the child? Because the child's an American citizen. It's not a citizen of whatever country this is, right? Whereas, they are, but that's not the point. The point becomes, there's a lot of loose ends there. There's a lot of questions of, how do we deal with this situation? How can we deport these people when they have American children? And this order will really clear that up. And like I said, I don't know necessarily that we should entirely do away with birthright citizenship. I don't terribly mind legal citizens being able to have American children, assuming that they're not overstaying their welcome. But illegal immigrants should not be allowed to have children in this country and have them be considered Americans, because that opens way too many doors to people coming in illegally, 9 months pregnant, being here for a week, having a child. Now you can't get rid of them because they got an anchor baby, right? And I think it's kind of ridiculous that 22 states want that to continue being the status quo. That 22 states want to go against the will of the people and make sure that anyone born in this country is an American. Because heaven knows we need more illegal immigrants who have children in this country and make it harder to deport them, right? Either way, from the AP, 22 states sue to stop Trump's order blocking birthright citizenship. Attorneys general from 22 states sued Tuesday to block President Donald Trump's move to end a century-old immigration practice known as birthright citizenship, guaranteeing that U.S.-born children are citizens regardless of their parents' status, which is a dumb thing to do. It's a dumb thing to have this in place, but whatever. Trump's roughly 700-word executive order issued late Monday amounts to a fulfillment of something he's talked about during the presidential campaign. But whether it succeeds is far from certain amid what is likely to be a lengthy legal battle over the president's immigration policies and a constitutional right to citizenship. Is it constitutional, though? We'll talk about that in a bit here. The Democratic attorneys general and immigrant rights advocates say the question of birthright citizenship is settled law, and that while presidents have broad authority, they are not kings. The president cannot, with a stroke of a pen, write the 14th Amendment out of existence, period, New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin said. The White House said it's ready to face the states in court and called the lawsuits nothing more than an extension of the left's resistance. Radical leftists can either choose to swim against the tide and reject the overwhelming will of the people, or they can get on board and work with President Trump, White House Deputy Press Secretary Harrison Fields said. Connecticut Attorney General William Tong, a U.S. citizen by birthright and the nation's first Chinese-American elected Attorney General, said the lawsuit was personal for him. Are we not past this whole, oh, you're the first, this, that, or the other? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's not special. It's dumb that we're putting so much weight on someone's heritage whenever they succeed. It's like, okay, congratulations. Who cares? The 14th Amendment says what it means, and it means what it says. If you're born on American soil, you're an American, period, full stop, he said. There is no legitimate legal debate on this question, but the fact that Trump is dead wrong will not prevent him from inflicting serious harm right now on American families like my own. At issue in these cases is the right to citizenship granted to anyone born here in the U.S., regardless of their parents' immigration status. People in the United States are on a tourist or other visa in the country illegally, can become parents of a citizen if the child is born here. It's enshrined in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, supporters say, but Trump and allies dispute the reading of the amendment and say there need to be tougher standards on becoming a citizen. The U.S. is among about 30 countries where birthright citizenship, the principle of jus soli, or right of the soil, is applied. Most are in the Americas, and Canada and Mexico are among them. Most other countries confer citizenship based on whether at least one parent, jus sanguinis, or right of blood, is a citizen, or have a modified form of birthright citizenship that may restrict automatic citizenship to children of parents who are on the territory legally. Trump's order questions that the 14th Amendment extends citizenship automatically to anyone born in the United States. Ratified in 1868 in the aftermath of the Civil War, the 14th Amendment says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Trump's order asserts that the children of non-citizens are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. It excludes the following people from automatic citizenship: those whose mothers were not legally in the United States and whose fathers were not U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents, and people whose mothers were in the country legally but on a temporary basis and whose fathers were not citizens or legal permanent residents. It goes on to bar federal agencies from recognizing the citizenship of people in those categories. It takes effect 30 days from Tuesday on February 19th. It's not clear whether the order would retroactively affect birthright citizens. It says that federal agencies shall not issue citizenship documents to the people it excludes or accept other documents from states or local governments. The 14th Amendment did not always guarantee birthright citizenship to all U.S.-born people. Congress did not authorize citizenship for all Native Americans born in the United States until 1924. In 1898, an important birthright citizenship case unfolded in the U.S. Supreme Court. The court held that Wong Kim Ark, who was born in San Francisco to Chinese immigrants, was a U.S. citizen because he was born in the country. After a trip abroad, he had faced denied entry by the federal government on the grounds that he wasn't a citizen under the Chinese Exclusion Act. But some advocates of immigration restrictions have argued that while the case clearly applied to children born to parents who were both legal immigrants, it's less clear whether it applies to children born to parents without legal status. The issue of birthright citizenship arose in Arizona, one of the states suing to block Trump's order, during 2011 when Republican lawmakers considered a bill that would have challenged automatic birthright citizenship. Supporters said then that the goal wasn't to get every state in the nation to enact such a law, but rather to bring the dispute to the courts. The bill never made it out of the legislature. In addition to the states, the District of Columbia and San Francisco immigrant rights groups are also suing to stop Trump's order. Chapters of the American Civil Liberties Union in New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts, along with other immigrant rights advocates, filed a suit in New Hampshire federal court. The suit asked the court to find the order to be unconstitutional. It highlights the case of a woman identified as Carmen, who is pregnant but is not a citizen. The lawsuit says she has lived in the United States for more than 15 years and has a pending visa application that could lead to permanent status. She has no other immigration status, and the father of her expected child has no immigration status either, the suit says. Stripping the children of the priceless treasure of citizenship is a grave injury, the suit says. It denies them the full membership in U.S. society to which they are entitled. In addition to New Jersey and the two cities, California, Massachusetts, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin joined the lawsuit to stop the order. Arizona, Illinois, and Oregon and Washington filed a separate suit in federal court challenging Trump's order as well. So let's talk about the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was enacted after the Civil War, and the idea basically was We have a bunch of these former slaves. What do we do with them? Well, the 14th Amendment was made to guarantee that these people would become citizens, would have rights in this country. But as we saw from this article, it didn't apply to everyone. It applied to the slaves. Then it didn't apply to Native Americans until almost 100 years later. And it's very interesting that we've perverted what was originally just meant to make sure that these slaves weren't just shipped back to wherever they came from. Instead, they were allowed to stay here because this is the only country they've ever known. Because they were born here. These were people that were taken from their homeland, brought here. They were born here. The originals died here, so on and so forth, right? And because of that, it made sense to grant them citizenship. It was to right the wrongs of the past, right? But that doesn't mean that any random person can just come into the U.S., have a child, and the child is a U.S. citizen. Because the big part of it is subject to our jurisdiction. If people come from other countries and they're not legal residents of the United States, well, then we don't have jurisdiction over them. They can go to an embassy. They don't have to follow our laws anymore. They can go back to their country, and their country might refuse to extradite them. As such, we don't have full legal authority over them. We might have partial, but not full. So they're not fully subject to our jurisdiction. As such, how can they possibly have children who are citizens of the United States? Because those children are also not subject to our jurisdiction because they're born of parents who are not subject to our jurisdiction. Now, this is going to end up going to the Supreme Court, I guarantee it. We saw them overturn Roe v. Wade. There's a decent chance they overturn the case that kind of sort of solidified birthright citizenship for everyone. Also, the fact that the illegal immigrant birthright citizenship has never been tried in court. So this is a new legal test. Now, I really hope that they do overturn this because I think this is something that's long in the making and long overdue, in that we shouldn't allow just random people to come to our country, have children, and now those children are citizens, where now they have the right to stay, apparently, based on some people's thoughts. I really do think that, birthright citizenship is a stupid idea, and that to have a child who is a citizen here, you have to at least be a legal resident. I'm going to change my tune. I said earlier that I think that, these people who come over on visas should be able to have children and then be citizens. I'm going to go ahead and reverse that. I'm going to go ahead and say no to that and say instead, if you are a legal resident, let's say you've got a green card, or you're working on a green card, or you're a citizen, great, your child should be a citizen. If you're not, sucks to be you. And that's the way a lot of countries do it. I think of Japan, right? In Japan, they do the by the blood bit, right? Where if one if one parent is not a citizen, then your child's not a citizen either. Screw you. That's not to say you can never become a citizen, but just to say that being born here does not merit you becoming a citizen. And I think that should be the case in the United States too, because we can't help every person. And we shouldn't be required to help every single child born here and make sure that they're a U.S. citizen, this, that, and the other, provide them schooling, provide them healthcare, provide them all these things, when their parents aren't citizens. Their parents are a drag on our society. So why should the child be a citizen as well? And I think that this will probably not get overturned. I think the Supreme Court will probably uphold this, but we'll have to see. We'll see if they stand by the guns, and if they do overturn it, we'll see if maybe Congress can do something about it, because I think this is something that the majority of people agree with. I think that because Trump campaigned heavily on this, and Trump won the popular mandate, both the Electoral College and the popular vote, I think people have said, it's time. We shouldn't be letting everyone in our country. We shouldn't give them a path to stay just because they had a child. It does not merit your child becoming a citizen just because they're born here. That's all I got to say about that, guys. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Next segment's coming up later today, and I'll see you guys then.